This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 235, recorded on October 29th, 2015. Here at Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all your favorite tech gadgets and primarily your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the Average Guy TV studios here in Bellevue, Nebraska. I've only said that like 8 million times. And, of course, we post a show, world-class show notes, each week out at theaverageguy.tv. If you have questions, comments, or contributions, you can contact me via email. Just send that jim@theaverageguy.tv. You can track me down on Twitter at jcollison. Or now reach us on the new talk.to. Of course, that's the little red tab over on the site. Go to theaverageguy.tv. Look for the tab. Anytime that red tab is lit, I'm sitting at my desk working. I turn it on. If you have any questions about what we're doing here on the site, just click on it. It'll open a chat window, one-to-one, you and me, no group chat. So if you got something you want to talk about, and a bunch of you have done that recently. So again, it's on right now. Don't do it right now, though. If you're doing it live, don't do it right now because I can't answer it because I'm starting the show. But if you want to get a message to me during the week, oftentimes that's the right way to do it. I'm actually headed to Seattle for the Microsoft MVP Summit starting tomorrow. Summit's Monday through Thursday. And I will have talk.to on all the time on my phone. So during the day, if you want to head over to the site and chat with me, see what's going on at the summit, head over there, find that red, chat with Jim, click on it, and that's the best way to get those messages over to me. I know there's lots of other ways to do it, but it's so easy to do it right off the website if you want to do that. We want to thank talk.to for that as well. By the way, they're sponsoring my travel to Seattle this week, so we want to thank them for jumping in and covering that travel after. Of course, Microsoft pays for the conference and the food and the fees and the hotel while we're there, which is nice. So it's Jim gets kind of a free week away. I'm pretty excited about that, actually, to tell the truth. And so thanks for both the Microsoft and talk.to. The AverageGuy.tv platform, of course, is hosted, both media and web, hosted out there. Maple Grove Partners get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from the people that you know and trust. You know that's Christian. And so for more information, visit maplegrovepartners.com. I was mentioning in the pre-show. Don't forget, we've got that Spreaker app available both on iPhone and Android. Download that. Go to the store. Just search for Home Gadget Geeks. Download it just for the show. You can listen to past episodes as well as live. Like right now, you could be listening to us if you're on a plane. They don't block this kind of streaming, so you could be listening to us on a plane if you want to do it that way. And many of you do. We hear from you all the time. Kevin Schoonover and or Paul Brerin. Paul Brerin does it all the time as well. You can listen on the plane. We want to thank LastPass. Got the shirt on today to support them as well, even though now they merge with LogMeIn. So we'll see how hopefully that goes okay. I've got Amber. We're going to have her back on early or late winter, and we'll talk about what's going on at LastPass. But we'll thank them for sponsoring our mobile app. Go out and give that a try. A great little app for your phone, and it costs you nothing. I want to mention that the Home Gadget Geeks is a part of the Geeks Network as well as Open Mic Night, right?
Yes, it is.
You're in the network as well over there. A bunch of great podcasts, and let me recommend one. If you go out to thegeeksnetwork.com, search for or just look for, it's at the very bottom now, Observe Tech. That is Rich Hayes' podcast. Rich has been on the show before. Rich does a great job of covering all things Microsoft, and he does it fast. If you want to get right to the point and no chit-chat, Rich Hayes is the guy that you want to hear for Microsoft. This guy just knocks it out every week. He has joined us over at the Geeks Network and mentioned today on his podcast that his numbers have gone up. So some of you have gone over and done that, and we appreciate that. But Observe Tech, very bottom, subscribe to it, and Rich does a nice job of getting the Microsoft news out there the way it's supposed to be. All right, let's dig in a little bit and get to the show. Well, let's introduce some folks. I know I get some comments from time to time. It takes me a while to get through all this, but this is a community podcast, guys, so hang tight. We'll get to the content here in just a second. Coming back and supporting the Creighton gear there, Mike Weger. Mike, how are you?
Doing great. Got a new piece of technology that arrived at my doorstep today, and we can talk about that later in the show. But overall, just a really good week. Had a really, really good week. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, no, we'll talk about that QNAP that you've got going on there. We'll come back around to that. And then, of course, we've been talking about it a couple times as we've been waiting for this day to arrive. And it's always good. One of the things I really enjoy is getting other tech podcasters to come on the show and talk about what they're doing. Sometimes really nice to get out of your own comfort zone, hear things from different people. We tend to get a little inbred sometimes in our own tech networks, but Kevin Harvell is coming in. And Kevin, welcome to Home Gadget Geeks. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
Good to have you. Just give us the breakdown, who you are, where you're from, the podcast that you have. Let's just pimp all your stuff and get that out of the way.
All right, so Kevin Harvell, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, so right here in the center of the United States. And I host a show called the Tech Informist, which is currently on hiatus, but I host that with my co-host Brad Whiteside, and we've got a few different shows. We also have an MS Mobile show. You mentioned Richard Hay. He's been a guest on that with Vernon E.L. Smith and David Kimball, known on Twitter as the Win Fan. Yeah, so they've been doing that show for 33 episodes now, 33 or 34. And it's a fantastic show for Microsoft fans that enjoy that stuff. But Tech Informist is just general technology. I love talking technology. I've been podcasting for just over 2 years now. And just love it.
You invited me on that, and then I think because you did, you went on hiatus. I'm pretty sure it was my fault.
Oh, I finally contacted and got Jim on. Hey, let's go on hiatus for a little while.
So you sent me a note. You're like, it was funny. He was like, actually, we're going to take a little break. Any plans on coming back? Have you?
Yeah, we're looking at mid-November because my co-host Brad, he's currently right now in Las Vegas with his fiancée. They are getting married on Halloween Eve, and then going on a week's cruise.
Gotta love that. Now, it's a good guy of you to get, because that's a big life event, right?
Yes. I'm like, hey, that's fine. You got to bank up hours to take off for work and stuff like that. Hey, no rush. I've got my own things I need to catch up on as well, so it kind of frees up a few hours.
Yeah, because these podcast things we do, they take a little time.
Yeah.
I mean, all three of us are podcasters. Mike, I mean, it's a little bit of time, right? It's not
just a little bit.
As you're finding out, it's once things start getting really busy. So, Kevin, any other podcasts besides Tech Informist?
Well, we do have the STL Tech Talk, which is my longest running show. That one is actually just over 2 years old. And then my newest one is called Who's Who in St. Louis, and that is a show not just for people that live in the St. Louis area, but for people that have lived here and moved away, or people that are, they stumble upon it and want to know, well, what else does St. Louis have to offer? Maybe you want to schedule in the spring or summer, fall, winter, whichever you like to come here for an extended, long weekend or something like that. Things to do, and to just try to talk to people that are well known in the St. Louis area and those that may just have interesting stories, sprinkle in a little St. Louis history and fun facts, and go about my business.
That's a great one. What do you get a pretty good listener base? You have a pretty good listener base for that? Was it pretty easy to get folks to listen to that because of the regionalness of it? And it's super nichey, so I wouldn't expect
very nichey, yeah. And
I wouldn't expect gigantic numbers, but what do you get with it?
Well, I'm not like a marketing pro. I'm to the point, again, that's what putting Tech Informist on hiatus was helpful in doing, is now I'm caught up and I can kind of get a little bit more focused on how to market that show. And in fact, I finally, even though the show is 4 episodes in, I just now today, while I was eating breakfast, started inviting all my Facebook friends to the show, and it's just kind of where I'm at, kind of a one-man band here, and trying to run multiple shows and various things. Yeah, it's been a bit of a challenge, but now
it's work, and you've got a couple that in your repertoire. And I think the more, I don't think it gets harder, like it's twice as hard or 3 times as hard. I think it's exponentially harder. So you get one, and you add 2, that's twice, maybe twice. But the third one, it gets 4 times as hard, because then you're really trying. I mean, I don't think you get economies of scale the more you add. I just think they get harder. Are you finding some of that as you add multiple shows?
Well, I've got my editing pretty much down pat. I know how long it's going to take me to edit, and now I've recently added a mixer into my equipment list, so that is helping produce much better audio. So that's going to help reduce editing time as well right there. So it's just a matter of doing some prep and stuff like that and post. But promotion for me, that's always been my biggest challenge. Yeah. I'm better at promoting everybody else than I am myself.
Well, maybe you should start a podcast where you just promote people.
Maybe.
Don't do it.
I've got plenty of ideas up here to do.
Stop. It's like, we always say that, with podcasters, it's, like an idea is like you're a hammer and everything's a nail. And so you just you see it, you're like, oh, we could do a podcast around that. I do love your idea of your local St. Louis podcast. And Mike, I've often thought you and I ought to think about doing a local Omaha one like that, and because that is a slam dunk easy. You can tell me, Kevin. I mean, I would think getting local people to come on and talk about stuff or provide a little bit of history. I love Omaha history, and I probably have 15 or 20 things I could talk about, shows we could do just on little locations around here in Omaha. Are you finding that easy to do the local podcast?
I've probably got 40 or so people on my guest wish list. Probably the most well-known nationwide would be John Goodman, Monsters Incorporated, Roseanne. Well, he graduated from Afton High School here in St. Louis. Come to find out, a girl that I graduated high school with has been working with my wife off and on throughout the years. Her half-brother, John Goodman, is his great uncle. So there's a good chance I'm going to get John Goodman on my Who's Who in St. Louis show. And that'll be fantastic. He's got a new movie coming out. She told me that my jaw just dropped. I'm like, oh my God, it's really possible.
Yeah, and I think it makes more sense, when you're going after some of these bigger names and they're from the area. It's not so intimidating. Like, I went after Robert Scoble one time to interview him, and he's a busy guy, and he said yes, but I felt a little. It was like to get Robert Scoble on a tech podcast. Actually, I was trying to get him on my Gallup podcast, but was harder. I would think with the local angle, it might be a little bit easier to say, hey, this is your hometown. Would you come and talk about it? I think that might be a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to be able to catch him when he's going to be in St. Louis visiting for whatever reason. Just say, hey, Mr. Goodman, I only need 30, 45 minutes of your time. We can meet wherever, here at the co-working space I work out of, or whichever.
Yeah. No, very cool. Yeah, Mike, I think you and I could, I'm getting a little feedback here. I think that's my fault. It is indeed. So, Mike, I think you and I'd love to do an Omaha. There's no time. Like, neither one of us have time.
Right, yeah. Oh, there's so many things I've thought of lately about that, just like you said, everything's a nail. I'm like, no, I've already got two that I can't even keep up on. I've already had to scale back on two, so not add one more. But Omaha would be a really cool one, especially because there is a lot of really cool history here. And, we've got so many big companies here, too, nationwide companies that people know about. So, yeah, it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I like it indeed. Well, we're a gadget show, Kevin. We want to talk a little bit about your gadgets. It's easy. Let's talk about your podcasting gear to start with, because a lot of people, I was doing a podcast today at work, and I do one or two a week, and I had two of our employees on, and one of the employees said to me, I want a mic like this, and we use the ATR 2100s kind of as our kind of default. I probably own 50 of them at work, and they're in various places around the world when I need to get people to do that. But and I said, they're only $50, and they're like, serious? He goes, man, I do conference calls all day, and I'd love to have this kind of setup to do it. So I think podcasters are onto something when we think about easy audio with earbuds and microphones. That makes sense because we're trying to get good sound. What are you using in your studio there? I mean, what do you like?
Right now, since I got this mixer, it's the Behringer. I'm not even sure really how to pronounce it.
You had it right, Behringer.
Okay, so it's the X1204 USB mixer. So it's 8 channels. I've got 4 XLR inputs, and it's really my first exposure to a mixer, and I've only used it on a couple shows, but it's pretty fantastic. My webcam is the go-to Logitech C920. I'm using the ATR 2100s right now. I've also got a Blue Yeti that I was using. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I just run I've got 2 ATR 2100s now, and I've got actually a pair of tabletop mic stands waiting for me at home to start using instead of just the standard.
You're traveling back and forth, and you take that mixer with you, or do you leave it in? Okay, wow.
Yeah, I've got a bag. Actually, I bought this. It's from Gator Cases. So
nice.
Oh, nice.
It's nice and padded and everything.
Kevin, throw that up there to the camera. So that I didn't have the camera on you. Okay. So you throw the mixer in there.
Yep.
And you're on a 2100 right now. Is that what you said?
Yes.
And you bought the Yeti as well?
Well, my I guess he's still kind of a co-host, JJ Hammond, who I started Tech Informist and STL Tech Talk with. He bought that for me for my birthday, actually. So like right now, it's just sitting not being used.
It's in the same status that it is for Mike and I, right? So if you look over my shoulder, I think it's still over there. Yeah, if you look over my right
Yeah, I
shoulder,
see the silver one.
you see the silver one. Mike used to have one in his background.
It's at my co-host now.
Yeah.
At his place.
And of course, the problem is they have really good. There's really good microphones. They just pick up everything.
They are so sensitive.
Yeah.
There's one thing I always had to tell my people that was having guests live. I'm like, please don't be a table tapper because it will pick up everything, no matter how low the gain is set.
And they even have a bass on those, but it doesn't. It's still, if you tap, I bought the big old, the big shock mount for it. The shock mount is gigantic.
That's got to be huge for that.
It's gigantic.
Massive.
And Mike, did you get a shock mount for it when you had it?
No, I just watched one of your old videos of you using it, and it's like a spaceship sitting in front of your face.
Well,
and then the shield in front of it too.
Oh,
you had the windshield. You
got the mount. Exactly. No, there were some podcasts I did where I had it like down in front, and literally you couldn't see me. It was right. It was just like this. And I had a couple of people say, we'd like to see you on the podcast.
Do you have like a crane holding that up too? Because that was probably a good, 20 pounds.
No, the high alarm will work. I think, and I think this is a Rode one. But,
I know these cheap ones would not. It would just like fall right over. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you put the 2100 on an arm, or do you have that just
not yet? Like I said, my tabletop mic stands are actually at home. They just arrived from Amazon today, so I'm using the little tripod thing that came with it in the kit.
Cool.
Right for now.
Yeah, and it's not that your mixer 180 right now on Amazon. I went a little more expensive with the FX, the Mackie Pro FX 12.
Okay.
So a little bit of an upgrade, but I think $245 is what I paid for that. Total overkill for what I do. For the most part, I wanted to kind of future-proof it. I've got I think I have the 16-channel version at work, and really liked it, and I just kind of wanted to future-proof it in case I needed to take it anywhere. The Mackies are pretty durable from that standpoint. But this one and the Alesis Multi-Mix 8 is those, I think, for people who are just getting started in podcasting, those two, this one that you have, this one's real popular, by the way, on for a lot of podcasters. This is the one they kind of end up with. Was there any reason you went with this one? Was it a price decision or a feature decision?
I figure with me and my needs, and I wanted it to be portable, so I wanted it to be small, but yet I could still have 4 inputs, because I feel the maximum people I'll have would be 3, so 3 plus me. So I figured the 4 XLR inputs would be more than enough for what I will be doing.
Yeah. No, that's a good one to go with. Alesis also makes a Multi-Mix 4, which is 2 inputs that I use when I go on the road when I'm interviewing somebody at conferences. Typically, it's just me and the other guest. Every once in a while, I'll get 2, and I just make them share a mic when we do it that way. But that's another good travel, that Alesis Multi-Mix 4. That would actually be for someone who has just wanted better audio sound for a home office. You could go with that, and I think that's a $70 mixer with a $50 microphone, and get some really good earbuds. I'm a big earbuds fan. Those are the ones I like. Although the new Mac, not the Mac, but the Apple ones, the ones that come with the phone, man, has Apple really changed their earbuds? I don't know when they did that, Mike, but they're actually super comfortable.
Last year, I think. Last year, the year before that. So.
Yeah.
I use the Samsung OEM earbuds. I mean, I've actually bought a couple pairs off of Amazon because I just like the in-ear, the nice soft ones. I've got a set of Apple that came with my iPhone, and oh man, they just hurt my ear. The hard plastic.
Yeah, I've worn them a couple times, and they kind of slide in nicely, and I felt they were comfortable. But earbuds are one of those kinds of things you got to be comfortable with, right? It's you got to try. All our ears are shaped a little bit different. So you like the Samsung, Mike? What are you wearing right now?
I wear the Apple ones, but my Hannah, my wife, she doesn't like the Apple ones. They're too big for her ears. So.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
And then my buddy Colin has the opposite problem. He says he hates them because they don't last long when you work out in them. Not very waterproof. So when you're sweating and stuff like that, they're not that great. So I think they work pretty well, actually. If you're just using them in a regular environment, they're not too bad.
Yeah, you guys know I love earbuds. Kevin, have you ever seen earbuds? YURBUDS. Have you seen those?
That company is actually based in St. Louis.
Yeah, those guys are awesome, by the way. That's a great company. And they've actually come down in price. They were really expensive 3-4 years ago when I started wearing them. They've come down. For podcasters, they've got that soft and I forget what they call it, a ear or something. Anyways, it's soft plastic that locks in, slides, and then locks into the ear canal. And then you can literally wear these things. I've worn them 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours at a time without it feeling bad, inside my ears. And they also let ambient sound in, which I think is important when you're podcasting, because that sound, stick your fingers in your ears and then talk, right? And that it sounds really, and so the earbuds let that sound in. And so I've been a big fan of those as a podcasting standard for a long time. So those have just been my favorite. You can find those, just earbuds, YURBUDS, get you those on Amazon. Don't forget to use the Tech Scholarship Fund in that. So you mentioned phone, you're an Apple guy. But when we were talking in pre-show, you were talking about Windows 10. So are you kind of this hybrid? If you kind of go back and forth, or where do you land on phone and PC and those kinds of things?
Okay, so when it comes to phones, my first smartphone was an HTC Desire that was on US Cellular. So it was essentially the Nexus 1, but for US Cellular. And so I've kind of stayed with Android throughout the years primarily. And then, I started getting more into with STL Tech Talk and getting review units from AT&T, Verizon reps here in St. Louis. And, they start sending me some Windows phones, and I'd never really tried them. I went to a demo for Windows Phone 7 before it launched and thought, wow, it's really nice, but I never had a chance to play with any of the phones until I tried the 920, and I'm like, this is pretty nice. And, after my 2-week trial with it, I almost hated to send it back. I thought, this is a nice phone. I'm missing some apps, but overall, I really enjoyed the platform. So today on my Lumia 820 that I've kept around, I loaded the latest Windows 10 mobile build, and I've kind of been playing around with it. I haven't had a whole lot of time with it yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you think? What do you think of phone? They're doing a lot. I haven't been super impressed with it, and it's not bad. I just,
Yeah.
It's just one of those kinds of things. What do you think of Windows 10 coming to the phone?
Well, I think it's nice. It's visually it is very nice to look at, and the transitions and everything like that. And I played around with the 950 XL demo that they have at our St. Louis Microsoft store. Beautiful device. I think it is a great device. Will it sell? Who knows? It remains to be seen. We've been wanting flagship devices for quite a while, and well, they're coming around the corner in just a few weeks. They'll be available. So we'll see how the response is, and if Microsoft's going to go with a Surface phone in the future. There's been a lot of kind of discussion that they've got one in the works, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think if you're interested in Windows Phone today, I think it is $640 for about $70, and that's off contract.
Oh yeah.
I forget where I saw that, and that's actually a pretty decent phone. You don't even have to turn it on. You can just kind of get the Windows experience. I bought the 520, which I got hanging up right here on one of those. I bought one of those magnetic holders for the car, that goes in the vents. Well, those stick really nicely inside those arms that we use for microphones.
Oh.
So I bought some of those $15 arms. I put the magnets on it. I put the phones on them. And so they're actually, you can kind of see, let's see if I can, you can kind of see it. I've shown it before on the show. You can kind of see the back of my Galaxy S4. That's right there. But it has made it handy when you're talking about these things on the podcast to have them kind of within arm's reach. But the 520, I have the old 520, not recommended for the Windows
No,
10.
definitely not now. That 512 megabytes of RAM,
yeah.
No. Even this 820 has been struggling with a lot of these previews, so that's why I'm curious to see how this latest build that released today, which is actually build 10581. So I'll play around with it more tonight.
Yeah, I think it's one of those interesting things. I think if you're a tech guy, I think it's an interesting, if you got $70 to burn, I think it's an interesting option to pick up one of those phones.
Mm-hmm.
Take it off contract. You never even really need to use the cell piece of it. It can sit at your desk and you can kind of mess around with it. But I think it's that's kind of the next thing I need to do. I just haven't had time to get to it. I've been working on so many other things, but that's an interesting thing if you want to get a 640, right? Am I getting the right number on that?
Yeah, it's the Lumia 640, or you can go with if you like larger screens, you can step up to the 640 XL, but then you're looking
those are like 150, right?
I thought when they first launched they were $250. I'm not sure what they're costing right now.
Maybe $179. Let's see. So it's a Lumia 640 XL. Yeah, let's see what. I'm sure you can get them on Amazon if you want to do it that way. Oh yeah, Slim Black. Yeah, 8 gig, unlocked, international, no warranty, 226.
Okay.
On Amazon.
Let's come down just a little bit.
Yeah, 224 if you want to go the LTE version, and then just a 640. I'm trying to remember where I saw that. Maybe it was even at the Microsoft Store.
Yeah, well, it could have been Microsoft Store, or Walmart, Best Buy.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of all carry those.
The 635 too is about $80 or about $70 right now, 67.50 if you want to do that as well. So kind of interesting. I do like it. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I'm afraid it's too late, and the ship has left the harbor, and you were so. I mean, Android is losing ground to the iPhone at the moment, and you're like, oh, geez. Right. So I just
that number to me was shocking. Seeing that 30% number, 30% of those new iPhones that were bought, which were 2/3 of their revenue, 30% of that were Android switching over to iOS for the first time. So I was shocked when I heard that number. I'm like, that. You know, Colin and I talked about open mic night because I actually thought it would have been one of the down years for switches, and seems to be the largest they've ever had.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's got some. The iPhone has some critical momentum right now, and it's just kind of crazy how that is taken off. On the Windows 10 desktop side, Kevin, have you made the switch to that? Are you running that in desktop mode?
I'd been running it on my Surface Pro 3. I'd been running various builds throughout the time, and then right whenever they released the build prior to RTM back in, gosh, what was that, July, I guess it was, it was running great, and even then, up until the time that I ended up selling it, it ran fine, and I've still got it on a Lenovo laptop that I've got, and it runs great. I really enjoy it. I don't run into any issues with it. And I'm still using the Insider build, so they released one. Well, they released one today, but then they had also released one, I think it was last week, and I just installed that over the weekend. It's been pretty good.
Yeah, pretty stable. I'm running on my Pro 3 as well. I took myself out of the fast ring on that. I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to go with the stable builds for now. I need that thing to actually work.
Right. Yeah.
And then I've been getting some upgrade questions. Let me ask you: when people say, "Should I upgrade to Windows 10 right now?" What's kind of your standard? I'm sure you get those tech questions all the time.
Yeah.
What's your answer?
For me, I say back up everything, back up all your files that you want to keep, install it, and then do a factory, and then reset your device, because your device will not run very well, and you're going to get a bad taste, bad impression of Windows 10 if you do not give it a fair shot to run clean, because you're just going to get two totally different experiences.
Yeah.
From just upgrade and go, as opposed to back up, upgrade, reset, and then go.
I just don't think the average consumer has the stomach for that. Like my sister, she called me the other day. She's like, "Hey, should I upgrade?" And I'm like, "Well, why would you?" She's like, "Well, I don't know. Everybody's doing it." And I'm like, "Well, but
there's a lot of things people are doing."
Yeah, exactly. And my advice has been hold off until after the first of the year. Right, Threshold 2 is in the midst of coming out, and I think they're going to have some issues with it that they'll fix. And I think by February, I'm going to say February, March, I think it's going to be rock solid and pretty stable. And I'm telling people to upgrade that. Thanks for the reminder on the upgrade, and then make sure it gets activated, right? Because that's what you activate it, make sure it gets everything in the system, and then you want to reinstall or do a clean install from scratch with that.
Yeah.
And
it's just to give it a fair chance, and you've got until July to get your free upgrade, so you've got plenty of time for Microsoft to work out those kinks and get out those threshold updates, like you said, which are going to be major updates. I mean, they're bringing in major features with each one of those updates.
No, totally agree. Mike, we've never really gotten a good Windows 10 device in your hand yet, have we? We still don't have that. We got the tablet,
I'm playing around with. Yep.
But that's 8.
Right,
It won't make the jump to 10.
Right, it will not. No.
So we need to get. We almost had Newegg was running. If you're out on the you go to our Facebook group, so if you go to theaverageguy.tv, no, if you go to facebook.com, actually it works either way. If you go to theaverageguy.tv/Facebook, I haven't said that in a while. That's an easy way to get to our Facebook group. If you go in there, and Kevin Schoonover found a Newegg deal for this $99 brick that's kind of running Windows 10, and it was kind of an all-in-one, really, really, really small form factor Windows 10 device. It sold out pretty quick, and so I didn't. That would have been a perfect one. I'd love to have been on Amazon, so I could have taken advantage of the Tech Scholarship Fund and send that over to you. Then you could have set that up somewhere in your environment. You still committed to that? I mean, if I sent you a Windows 10 brick,
yeah.
would you? Okay.
Yep. Definitely use it.
You'd, and then you can send me an Apple. What would be the cheap?
Oh yeah.
Hold on. What would be the cheap equivalent to that, Mike?
The
Is there? Just yeah. And how much is that?
I think you can get them at like 600, starting at 600.
So 6 times the price of a Windows machine? Is that what you're telling me?
The price might have gone up. Now it got me interested.
6 times the cost, and you're still a fanboy after 6 times the cost.
Oh, easily. Oh, starting at $499.
Oh, okay. All right. So just 5 times the cost.
Yeah, but they're 10 times as good, so you're really getting your money's worth.
Nicely done. So, Kevin, for you, Windows guy, for your daily drivers are all Windows machines. Have you? And then you did mention a Mac though at some point.
Yeah, actually, my MacBook Pro is my daily driver. It's the 15-inch late 2014 edition, and I bought that in February. And honestly, it's the first Mac I've ever really used. So it took a little while to transition to, hey, if you want to like X out of a window, the red X is in the top left corner. And hey, just because you X'd out of the window, the program's not closed. You got to go to the dock and close it there as well. So it took a little while to get used to a few things. And
did you go to Mac for podcasting, or what?
No, I did that for video editing. We had a Final Cut Pro license, and it's a $300 license. And we shifted personnel when it came to our local media stuff that I am involved in. So I kind of took over the video and editing portion. So I'm like, well, I need to get a Mac, so I don't want to let that $300 license just go to waste.
Yeah, I'll have a Mac Mini at some point. I need to, with all the work that I do. I need to have that experience so I can kind of understand it with all the, I help people do stuff, and they're all on Mac now, and it's like I'm like, okay, let's see, hold on, let me Google that so I can figure out how to make Skype work or whatever.
You could build a Hackintosh machine.
I know, it's just as easy to buy a Mac Mini, though. Yeah. To be honest with you,
Yep.
I need
a lot
to write.
easier and cheaper.
In fact, if there's a listener who's got a Mac Mini they want to unload, and maybe and give me a fair price on it as well. Let's chat. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, and maybe we can come. And I'd take an older version. El Capitan would run on anything 2 years or newer, Mike? Is that kind of?
Oh no, way back. My 2009 MacBook runs El Capitan.
Wow. So it's So if you got a Mac Mini you want to unload for whatever reason and get included in the show, we would probably find some way to bring it into Home Gadget Geeks. It's one of those home gadgets. So. Let me know, jim@theaverageguy.tv. All right, Kevin, real quick, any kind of crazy, I know you said you got the Band on order, so you got the Band 2, Microsoft Band 2 coming.
Yep, Band 2 is coming.
So that'll be out. I'm trying to score one of those somehow live and in person at a store somewhere while I'm traveling. Not Microsoft. Why couldn't they have shipped that thing on Monday?
Well, they scheduled the MVP summit at the wrong time.
No,
that's what it was.
I mean, they shipped the Surface Book before they shipped the Band.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they didn't just ship everything on the 26th.
That would have been awesome, but they want to screw with me, is what they want to do. So you got the Band coming. Any other gadgets, home automation stuff that you run that you like, particularly? Are you an Echo guy? You got one of those?
No,
what kind of stuff you got around the house?
I don't have one of those. I've got an Amazon Fire TV. I've got a Google Chromecast. I've got a Nexus 6P coming on the way that is still pending from the Google Play Store. That's supposed to be November 5th through the 9th. So I ordered the 64 gig Frost version.
Okay.
So
isn't it crazy how we order stuff and wait for it now?
Yeah. And it seems like the Frost versions are taking the longest to ship out. So I do want to say #white phones matter.
Yeah.
So hey, we want our phones. Don't Don't hate on the white phones.
White phones matter.
White
And,
phone.
my daily smartphone is a Nexus 6, so it's the big Shamu Motorola Nexus 6 from last year.
Okay.
I like big phones.
Yeah, and you're across the ecosystem. I mean, I think you probably represent what most of our listeners, we're multi-use in this, especially since I brought Mike over. We're all multi-use in a lot of ways, and I think that's really healthy. That the ecosystems out there that we're not so focused. It's got to be I got to carry a Windows phone with me, or that's been a healthy. I'm excited to go on the campus here this week at Microsoft, and they're telling me everybody's carrying iPhones on the campus, and you're kind of I'm like, oh, this will be interesting to see how that. How the campus has changed just in a year. There's been some big changes at Microsoft. So
well, with what Microsoft has done with putting all their Office apps and the Sunrise calendar and Outlook email and all that stuff across all these platforms, I mean, sometimes the best Windows phone is either an Android or an iPhone.
I was going to say sometimes the best apps on iPhone or Android are Windows
Microsoft
apps. The most helpful Mike this week put on our Facebook group, hey, could I borrow a scanner from somebody? And I was like, dude, you've got Office Lens on your phone. Just use that. Mike, did you try that? Did you try Office Lens?
I tried another one, not Office Lens. Okay. What is it? Scan Plus, I think it is.
Are you just doing that to spite me?
Yeah. Office Lens is fantastic.
I said, oh, that's a Microsoft product. Nope.
Oh,
no,
man.
I didn't. That's not how it worked. I just didn't. I was just looking quicker. I'm like, oh, I think I actually downloaded one like a year ago and I already paid for it, and I want to see how that one's updated. So.
Did it work?
Yeah, worked great.
Does it OCR for you?
Yes. Yep. Cool. OCRs, connects to Dropbox, email, all that stuff. So it works pretty well.
No, that's the way to do it. Just, remember well, you wouldn't because you're too young, but I remember as a kid watching Hogan's Heroes, and they get those little cameras and they,
oh yeah, I love
cameras.
Hogan's Heroes. My dad got the whole series on DVD, and I've watched the entire series.
And I remember thinking as a kid, oh, how cool would it be? They take those pictures and put it on microfilm and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
We basically have that, just now, and you could just roll through. You could get a whole bunch of docs done. One of the things I like about Office Lens is it squares those pages up for you. So if you don't get it exactly right on the, on the camera setting, it squares it up for you and then saves
the color a little bit so you can hear a photo. Yeah.
Yeah.
We still use microfilm at work, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, I should say I work for the railroad, so we're not all the way up to date on technology, but it's fun. A lot of old contracts and stuff, all on microfilm. You go and you grab it and you flip through. Yep. Oh yeah. I thought I was gonna break it. I thought it was like unwinding, and I was like, no, that's just the way it works. I'm like, all right.
Get those big screens.
Yeah, it's huge. It looks like a monitor, like a green monitor. It's
yeah. Cool. Oh man, those are the days. I remember looking up genealogy stuff way back in the day on microfilm. And doing it that way. So, Kevin, you were on Home Server Show. Did you come on with Dave? Did I see you on one of those podcasts with Dave McCabe?
No, Dave has actually been a guest on STL Tech Talk.
Maybe that was it.
It was one of the first 5 or 10 episodes of STL Tech Talks when Dave came on, and and I'll still periodically wear one of those I am 3% shirts that he sent over.
Nice.
Still got it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I wore one the other day, and somebody goes, where was I? I was wearing it, and he goes, I want to know what this I am 3% means. And I'm like, it's a long story. You don't really want to know. So I ended up not telling him. From a home server space, though, are you in the home server market? What do you use? Do you have any home server storage, or are you putting everything in the cloud?
No, everything that I've got is in the cloud.
And what are you using for that?
I'm a OneDrive.
Cool.
So I use Office 365, so I just pay the $100 a year, and I get access to all the Office programs on 5 devices, unlimited cloud storage. So I've got.
Is it unlimited for you now? I know there was a 1 terabyte, and then they've made it unlimited. But is your plan unlimited?
Yes, it's unlimited. But whenever you go to like OneDrive.live.com or whatever, you look at it, it'll say you're using 2 terabytes of 10 terabytes. But once you exceed the 10 terabytes, then I don't know what it says after that. I would assume it'll say
you're
unlimited
crazy.
Then.
It'll say you're crazy. You have too much
Probably,
data.
Yeah.
What are you doing with all this data? Go out and enjoy the sun.
Yeah. But doing a lot of video, that's what takes up the majority of it. That and backup audio files for 5 shows, 4 shows.
But from an editing standpoint, you got to keep those things locally to
Mhm.
get the edits right. It's a pain to upload and download the large
Yes.
files. So do you keep, from a work perspective, do you keep them local for a certain period of time and then move them up?
Yeah, I keep all, as soon as a video project is done filming, I'll store it all over on my external hard drive and then upload everything to my cloud storage. Then I keep it locally on my external and edit while it's still there. And once the client, signs off that, hey, that's good, or we're done with revisions, then once I make sure everything's still uploaded, then I delete it off my external.
Yeah, move it up to the cloud, and,
Yeah.
that makes a good transition. Mike, you picked up a QNAP. We had some discussions when we think about home. And this is really a good discussion for Home Server Show, but we'll throw it in here just because you're the host here and not over at Home Server Show. You asked me, we've been talking about home storage, and and then all of a sudden a Woot deal came up. So talk a little bit about the Woot deal you took advantage of this week.
Yeah, it was very spur of the moment. Actually, I was driving home from church when I got the tweet. So I think that's when it was. And I talked to him. I'm like, hey, this is perfect, because the reason we needed a NAS unit in our house was we had run out of space for photos. Photos had eaten up the entire hard drive of my iMac. So we're like, okay, I had put it on an external USB, but that, okay, it's makeshift. It'll work for a little bit, but wanted a more permanent solution that was accessible from all the different computers. So, yeah, we grabbed that QNAP deal. It's a QNAP HS210 for $138, which was a pretty good deal. And then we got two terabyte WD Reds to go put in there. And it's been, so it just came today, had it for about, I guess now it's been about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And I'm surprised how nice the interface is. And I was going to show you guys here.
So real quick, QNAP HS210.
Yeah.
It's the 2-bay. You got it for how much on Moot?
138.
Oh, that's awesome. So $199 full price on Amazon if you're heading
Okay.
over there. So that's a pretty good deal to get that. Looks kind of like a little pizza box.
That's what I kind of liked about it. So it's not the stereotypical NAS unit. When you get it and you look at it, imagine the size of a DVD player, the old school, kind of thin, nice-looking, newer Sony DVD players. It's kind of what it looks like. So kind of almost like yes, there it is. So
yeah, let me get
or
that.
actually like a cable box kind of.
Yeah, it kind of does. A little flat,
Right.
flat
So
design.
that front bay right there, right on the front, that front cover just pops off. It's a magnet, and you slide in your two drives or your one drive, whatever you want to do, and
And you got two terabyte Reds.
yeah.
And how much were they?
Those were $89 a piece.
That's the sweet spot, by the way. That 2 and 3 terabytes right now are pretty cheap.
Yeah, no, yeah, not too bad. So we grabbed 2 of those, and I'm running them in RAID 1 right now, just so to have that redundancy. That's what I wanted. That was the main thing with the NAS. Like, well, if I'm gonna do one, I want 2 bays, and I want to do it where I can just hot swap them if one goes bad. So I did that, and I will switch over mine here. Kind of show you guys the interface. It's kind of cool. So it's all web-based. And when you log in, it's kind of a very Apple iPad looking interface for QNAP, and they've got all the kind of stuff built in that you would normally want. Your media station, your DLNA, music, file station, all that sort of stuff. And they've got a whole other app center too for if you want to do any sort of Plex is one of the apps you can add. Now, one of the things I am finding on this one is actually a little bit more limited than I would have liked. The processor, it can't do any transcoding, so you actually can't even load the Plex app up onto here. And I think that's one thing I like is this kind of this little dashboard that we can pop out and we can see how much we're pegging the CPU and RAM. So right now I have the external hard drive, the USB one I used to have plugged into my Mac. I plugged it in, and I'm just kind of mass transferring a bunch of files over. So you can see even just transferring all those files is keeping that CPU pretty high, and it was actually at 95% just a little bit ago. So the performance is okay, and definitely for the money, pretty good. But for example, let's see, my copy right now that's going over, it started at 8:04, so 43 minutes ago, and it's only gotten 76 gigs transferred from that USB 3 hard drive. So external hard drive to this new one. So I don't know if maybe it hasn't, I plugged this thing in and got it going right away. So I don't know if it's still doing all of its background stuff it needed to do to kind of settle in. I'm not sure, but speeds are okay and definitely good enough for once I get everything over there, it'll be just fine. It'll be exactly what I want. But definitely nothing. You're not going to get too high performance stuff out of the 210, but definitely good enough for what I wanted it for, which was pretty much just storage and also a place to keep all my Plex files that my Mac will access, and then my Mac will still be the Plex server technically, but the files will just be stored over on the NAS. So.
Have you tried that yet, where you actually try the streaming to make sure it can handle the streaming piece of it?
I have not.
Or it's not really handling the streaming, but it's accessing from the QNAP, right?
Right. It seems like it would be okay. I mean, when the file transfers go between the computer and the QNAP, they're going decently fast. I mean, they hopped all the way up to close to 90 megabits per second, and then it was hopping down mainly to like 35 to 40, which is more than fast enough for Plex. So
Yeah.
not a problem there.
I find the Drobo struggles with. Here, let me switch this back. I find I've done the same thing. I have a Plex server.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good sized box. No, that's not true. So I'm running Plex off the Drobo, and Drobo's not. It's got that 32 gig M-SATA card in it for cache, and I thought that would help. It really struggles to stream efficiently and consistently. It'll go for a while and then it'll freeze. If somebody's accessing it for some reason or whatever. I'd be interested in how that appears to you, whether it works or it doesn't. Because if it does work, then I think you're in a good situation there.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, so I'm definitely, I mean, this is obviously just 2 hours in, just kind of my initial impressions of starting to throw stuff at it. But the setup overall, just I guess the things I can talk about were the setup was super easy, all cloud-based to get the settings all moved over there. Could not be simpler on the setup. Walks you through, lets you do advanced options if you want, gives you options for, hey, who's going to be accessing this, Mac, Windows, and you can say, oh, no, just Windows or both, whatever you want. It's just a lot of great options on the setup. And then the setup took, I'd say, about 25 to 30 minutes, and the majority of that was it writing all of the new settings and formatting the drives and stuff like that. But I was really, really impressed with it. I think for the money, it's perfect. So.
No, I think a good little entry-level NAS for you, especially if you're just going to store files on it.
Yeah, and it's fanless, which is interesting. So there's no fan to it, but that also means the way that the heat comes off is through the top, but that also means that the sound barrier isn't thick at all. So you hear those drives spinning up and spinning down, and right now you can hear it crunching. I don't know if the mic's not going to pick it up.
No,
but,
it's not picking it up.
You can hear it crunching, but it also has the option. The bays are built also for SSDs. So if you wanted the 2.5-inch SSD, you could throw those in there, and then it would be completely silent. You wouldn't have any noise. So some options there. If you wanted to spend the money on the SSD, that's the thing. And they were way too expensive when I was looking at them.
Kevin, as you look at that, have you thought about going straight NAS from a home storage standpoint?
It sounds like it would be pretty interesting. I know at prior days of .NET conferences here in St. Louis, which we've got another one coming up here soon, I've talked to a couple guys that had one, and he showed me how easy it was to access everything from his home, and I believe he was using Plex at the time. And I was like, wow, that. And then seeing what Mike was just showing, maybe that is something I need to look at in the future.
Yeah, and all the apps that they built in for syncing, it can be, if you want it to be, your own Dropbox. You can sync these things. They have all the apps for the phones and the computers, and you can access these files from wherever you are and whenever you want, which is kind of nice if you want kind of that private controlled cloud aspect. Also means if the power goes out at your house and you're out of town, you're out of luck. So you're kind of, there's good and bad with having your own private little cloud. But
right.
I want to start playing with the syncing and see how that works, because if I do, as I move into my next job when I graduate law school, if I'm traveling, it would be nice to have access to all of my files and to have it be private. So.
Right, yeah. Can it do a redundant backup to, say, OneDrive, for example?
I haven't played with that too much. I don't know. On QNAP, I would guess so.
I think you have a crash plan option on QNAP.
Yes, that is true. I did read crash plan, so you could.
Yeah, that would probably be the most economical for $60 a year. You could then just push those to the cloud.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. That's good. Yeah, I do. I use Carbon Copy Cloner on my Mac to clone my Mac to it, and then it also does a Time Machine backup. So there's two kind of forms of backup there. Which
okay.
Is,
and I wouldn't be surprised if they have a OneDrive app on there. I haven't looked at QNAP in a while, but I wouldn't be surprised if they've got some kind of OneDrive integration in with it. Kevin, for you, that would be really interesting since you're already keeping it there. Although OneDrive's not necessarily technically backup. I mean, you can make it that way if you
You're
want,
right.
if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, the OneDrive web experience to me is kind of horrible.
Yeah.
And I mean, OneDrive I don't think has been the best it was ever was on Windows 8 and 8.1. I mean, when we had placeholders,
Right.
and they keep rumbling that we might bring placeholders back in the future or something. Well, I hope you do, and I hope you bring it to Mac as well as Windows because that's how I think OneDrive should be used. I don't even want to get started.
Yeah, no, it's a little sore spot for
Yeah.
Microsoft folks. I've actually gone. I mean, I've needed a file that's on one of my PCs here. I've actually gone to Crash Plan, pulled the restore, drilled down to the file, and downloaded it faster than it would sometimes it would take to get into OneDrive, find it, find it in the file, whatever, from that perspective, and that works out really, really well. So that's one of those things for me where Crash Plan comes in handy. And any of those Carbonite, they've all got that, but it has been one of those things that I've liked to use it that way. So Mike, so far QNAP, you give it some thumbs up at least so far as the setup goes.
Oh, I give it 2 thumbs up right now, and I'll let you guys know on performance. Well, and honestly, I can't doubt I mean, I can't, even if it is a little bit slow. It was $138. It's their entry level. It's their entry level NAS, and they do some amazing stuff. And software, I would give as of right now 5 stars. It's just beautiful. Looks fantastic. You would never guess it was a NAS unit. So.
Well, it looks like a Mac. That's why you like it.
It does.
It looks very Mac-ish when you get in there. So us Windows guys would be like, where's the start button?
Yeah, could you have a terminal I can type in?
Can I use PowerShell?
Yeah.
That would be us Windows guys. So, Kevin, as we get closer to Christmas, we've asked the last couple guests, we've done this, anything you got your eyes on for yourself, I mean your family, when it comes to technology, anything you're looking out for coming up on Christmas?
Honestly, other than like the Band 2 and these new Nexus devices, I think they're great. I mean, I know there's a lot of those Fitbits out there that people still, they still love because they don't want to spend as much for, a full-fledged Android Wear device or an Apple Watch or something. They just want something that counts their steps, whether how accurate they really are or not, but just to give them a good idea and some sleep history and stuff like that, just the basics. I still recommend the Fitbits. I've got a Fitbit Flex and I still like it, but I haven't worn it in quite a while.
Yeah. Well, that's the hard part of these bands, and I'll be honest with you. I've been talking about. I mean, I've publicly said a bunch of times that I'm buying the Band 2, but they tend to have a shelf life that's very, very short on the way you use them. So you get really excited about them, and for the first 2 or 3 months, especially the fitness stuff, and then life gets busy and it starts reminding you, and you don't want to be reminded anymore. So you shut the reminders off. You're like, shut it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know about you. I just have not found that, and I love the fitness idea. I've known a lot of guys, a lot of gals that have lost a lot of weight, have done a lot of good things for themselves with these fitness bands, but it just doesn't seem like it lasts very long.
Yeah, well, it's just like, the highest amount of signups at a fitness center is in January, and then you drop off in February. So
yeah,
kind of the same thing. I mean, I had a Band 1, and I mean, I bought 2. I mean, launch day. Once they announced it during the World Series, I was at our Microsoft store the next day, and they even opened up a little early because they knew me from having Windows phone meetup groups. We will sometimes host them there. So, I mean, they kind of know me pretty well. And I came in a little early and picked up the first 2 in St. Louis. And I eventually sold it. It just got to the point I'm like, it's just a little uncomfortable, and I didn't find myself really using it that much. I bought an LG G Watch and tried that for a while. But I had been missing the band, and then I saw the new Band 2, and I went and tried it on, and I said, this thing finally feels good. The display is so responsive. It responded so much better than Band 1. That's why I ordered it, and am selling my LG G Watch. I'm going to use it because the band works on all 3, And I think with Microsoft and Google allowing Cortana to be on there and giving it more voice actions, that you can actually unlock your Android device and say, "Hey Cortana," and she responds
Isn't that
instantly.
crazy? Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, well, I think you might be able to do some voice commands from the Band 2 to Android devices in the future.
Yeah, Mike, are you enticed at all by the Microsoft Band? Have you looked at that?
No, I'm still holding out for the Apple Watch.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because of the
you got to go to a store and check it out, dude.
Oh, I will. Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. I'd be interested in getting your opinion of what you think of the Band after seeing a real one, type deal. So pretty cool. Well, guys, I think we're kind of running to the end here. Kevin, anything else that I missed that I should dig out of you before we kind of let you go?
No, just, I mean, if you have any inkling of wanting to learn a little bit more about St. Louis, whostl.com, and also make sure to follow me on Twitter at Kevin Harvell with 2 L's.
Very cool, and they will do that as well. Mike, anything that I missed that you wanted to go over before we kind of bring this thing in? It takes me 15 minutes to bring this thing in for a landing, so I gotta kind of get some.
9:15.
I know, that's right. So don't be confused by that. A reminder: we're out next week. No show, so Mike, no show for you. Kevin, thank you for coming on tonight. Great.
Thanks for having me. And
hang tight. We're gonna do a little post show.
Okay.
So sometimes the post shows. Do you have some time? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Perfect. Sometimes the post show is better than the show, so
I understand.
You might want to hang around for that a little bit. We are off next week, heading out to I almost said St. Louis. Heading out to St. Louis.
Come on down.
Headed out to, well, we used to have a listener, Chris Lux, who lived in St. Louis. He's moved to Seattle, and that's where I'm headed to. Starting tomorrow morning, 6:30. I haven't packed a thing, by the way. It's 9 p.m. in the Central Time Zone, and I got to get up.
That's how you do things, though. You said that's kind of how it works.
I pack last minute every single time. And it always seems like I got to leave on a Friday morning, and I never cancel the podcast because you don't do that. That's just what you don't do.
No.
So I got to pack sometime tonight. So in Seattle. So I'll love to have you again. I mentioned at the beginning of the show, if you use talk.to, I'll try to have that on all weekend. And one of the things I did buy. So for the travel, and Mike, have you ever used a Mophie cover for your iPhone?
Yeah, I used to.
Okay, so
way back, long time ago.
Yeah, well, I got contacted by mobilefun.com, and they were like, "Hey, would you review?" They sent me the doc. There's a little doc that goes with these, right? And so they sent me the doc, and I got. Well, it looks like this. It looks like that. And then I said, "Okay." So the doc came, and I'm like, I thought the case would be in the box.
It wasn't.
No.
Oh.
No. And these cases are not cheap.
No, they're not.
Yeah, these are not cheap cases. So these are for the iPhone, and they got them for everything. I actually have Windows phones cases available at mobilefun.com. But this has got a 3,300 milliamp, I think that's how you say it, battery that's in it, which is a pretty good sized battery. You can see the case right here. It's pretty thick when you think about it. I mean, it really takes your iPhone and makes it super thick, right, from that standpoint. And I kept thinking, like, I would never use this day to day. Plus, it's slicker than snot. I mean, I'm gonna have
that's my biggest pet peeve about cases.
I'm gonna have to get a sticker or two to put on the back here that's got one of those kind of friction surfaces.
Right.
But where I thought this would come in really handy, kind of cool. The top just comes off like that, and you slide the phone in, and it's got a Lightning connection there. Although I have a little bit of beef because it goes from Lightning to micro USB, and you're like, I just bought all the micro stuff or all the Lightning stuff.
Yeah, that is weird that they would do that.
Isn't that stupid? That's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. Now, the cool thing is if you're making the jump from Android, we all have these we have all these chargers already in there. So I got a whole crap load of them from that standpoint. And the case or the stand that comes with it, these two little dots here, that's the charging. So you just drop it in and it starts recharging the case. And then on the back, it's got a on and off for the battery, so you can turn the battery on or off. It'll either charge it or it won't. And so when this is going to be my traveling case. So when you're traveling and you're on the plane and you're watching movies and you get off at your destination, it's only noon and your battery's dead.
Yep.
Right? And that's you've blown through it because you watched it. Well, the advertised 120%, so I would get another full charge out of it from that standpoint. I'd
That's perfect.
flip that switch and it would start charging on the back, and you could then get basically twice the power out of it. So my thinking is I'm going to use this case just for travel, and I travel enough. I'm gone 8 weeks out of the year. I travel enough that it makes sense to have a special case just for traveling.
Oh yeah.
One of the cool things is it would have had a stand that would have come out of the back. To
That, and
Yeah,
I'm
no
just
problem.
still shocked it goes to micro. Like that completely shocks me. Like you would think you would travel with your cord.
yeah, you'd have your lightning cable.
Yeah, you
If
have
you're-
your lightning
If you're
cable.
buying one for an iPhone,
Right.
you would make sense.
And I'm sure
and the
there's some
case
kind of
doesn't
light-
come with a micro, so you have to go out and buy specifically another micro.
No, it does. No, it comes with the micro. Yeah.
Oh,
this
it
is-
does.
it
Okay.
does.
Okay.
I just thought it was crazy. The other crazy thing about it, I'm going to write this all up, but the other crazy thing about it is the headphone jack. They don't. It's got to get through to it, right? You see right there. So they give you this extender to go in, right? And so it looks like this, and I'm like,
Wow.
that's a little janky, right?
And what if you forget your adapter? Like you don't know where it is. And,
No, right on. Super easy to lose. What they should have done was put the adapter in like this, right? Made that because that way when you slide the phone in, it just automatically slides right into the jack, and then extend it out to there. So hard to recommend the case.
Yeah,
No.
definitely. But for a travel case, for those rare instances you're going to use it, not bad.
Yeah.
That you'll be at a conference or something.
Yeah, I would, I'd look again if I was going to do so. I'll review this because that's what I do. But if I was going to look again, I would look. Now I would know to look. Hey, if I'm going to do a travel case, I'm going to look for one that's got those features that
Right.
I wasn't paying attention when I ordered this, and was like, oh, that's which is why we do these things. This is why we have the Tech Scholarship Fund and those kinds of things, is to pick up some of these things and give them really lousy reviews when they're not very good. Because Kevin, you know the deal. You're a fellow reviewer. Don't you feel when they give you the equipment, don't you just feel a twinge of obligation to just not thrash them?
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard, but other times I'm like, this is horrible.
Yeah. Well, and I always try to say now, if they send me stuff, like you could get a terrible review. I mean, I want you to know that this could be a terrible review. So it's going on the road with me tomorrow. I got to remember to take that. I think it should all be charged. Yeah. So you can see the 4 lights in the back there show up, meaning you push that little button. So those kinds of things are cool, and
Right.
it'll be one I
Little
carry with
details
me.
like that.
Yeah. No, so it's almost half right. Let's
Right.
put it that way. But so it comes with a little stand, and then of course I can plug it in anywhere. So that'll be going to Seattle with me, and we'll be testing it and write about it. And if you want to use the talk.to to chat with me while you're there, that would be awesome. If you haven't signed up for the newsletter yet, get that done. TheAverageGuy.tv/newsletter has all the back episodes, and you can sign up for it right there. Of course, thanks for using the Tech Scholarship Fund, and we're working on baby monitors for Kyle and for Lopta. So I still didn't get many. So you email me, Jim@theaverageguy.tv if you've got options. Kevin, we've got a couple of guys that are having babies, and we thought, well, hey, gadgets for your home. We've never really done baby monitor, the high-tech baby monitors, and so we're gonna get a little bit into that. I think that's gonna be kind of cool.
Yeah.
In a couple weeks, we've got the guy from Ring.com is coming on, the founder and chief inventor at Ring, so that that's the door bell that is constantly recording what's going on your porch and sending it up to the cloud. So we're going to get some more details on that coming up in the next couple weeks, and that's probably you probably cover a lot of that same stuff on Tech Informist. Is that kind of
back when I actually had time to request and review devices and accessories and stuff like that. Yeah, I loved getting all the things that I used to get, and it just got to where I was overwhelmed with everything. I had to turn things down. I'm like, hey, I don't have time to review it.
Yeah, no, I actually got my wife in on it. So we Anear, ANEAR, sent me a pair of Bluetooth headphones that have they got a phone, you can take calls on them and swipe stuff on them. They got little buttons on them, and just the little green, it's got the little green strap, I guess you can put behind your head to hook the two together. I didn't have time, and she saw them on my desk, and she was like, oh, and I'm like, she's like, can I have those? I'm like, well, they're for review. I said, if you review them, you can have them. And so she said, okay. So that review is actually sitting in the can, and I'll probably try to produce that yet this week before I leave, maybe even yet tonight. out at theaverageguy.tv. And you can see Sarah's writing, so that's out there as well. And I just posted a review on the site. If you go out to theaverageguy.tv and look at the most recent post, and you want to go down to the reviews and how-tos section. So Randy Pearson actually said, a listener had bought one of those Intel, the NUC kits that are kind of the Intel all-in-one box PCs, little mini ones. He bought that, loaded it up, took a bunch of pictures, did a little write-up. I was super easy to turn that into a post. So I just asked Randy, hey, because he sent me a note. We'd been going back and forth. And I said, hey, just send me a couple pictures. And so the pictures and what he wrote to me under the pictures, that's enough for a post, guys. And I'd love to post that kind of stuff for you. So if you're listening and you got some cool gadgets and you want to take a few pictures and write up a post, that's what theaverageguy.tv is all about. We'd love to have you post out there, and I will certainly do that right below that for unique gadgets to improve your home life. That was a guest writer as well. So actually you're going to see Sarah show up, my wife, as a guest writer, which I think is pretty cool. And if you want to do that, you can just let me know. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, and I'll fix it up for you, and we'll post it. I'm not picky. I just like to get information out there that's gadgety, and that's very cool. So go out and take a peek at that. I will be coming in live from Portland, actually, on Saturday for Ask the Podcast Coach. Mike, I got to get up at like 6:30 to get this 6:30 in the morning to get this podcast in, as we start at 9:30 in the Central Time Zone. So if you're a podcaster and you're interested at all, Dave Jackson and I do Ask the Podcast Coach every Saturday morning, 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern. And it's on Blab, so you can just jump in if you get your questions. Kevin, I think you'd enjoy Ask the Podcast. Have you ever watched us?
I have not watched, but I met Dave at Podcast Movement this last August.
Oh, good. He's just the greatest guy.
Yeah.
He's the most real. I mean, I know a lot of the other podcasters who podcast about podcasting. Dave's the most real, friendly, nicest guy you'll ever meet. So I really enjoy podcasting with him, and so just a lot of fun. Saturday mornings, join us. You don't even have to be a podcaster. You just can come out, although we try not to talk about microphones all the time. So that seems to be the number one question you get when you're a podcaster. What kind of mic do you use? We one more reminder as well about the live. Now, Spreaker apps available with Android and iPhone. You can go down, get those downloaded from the store. Right now, just search Home Gadget Geeks, and that will get you there. We are here every Thursday, except next Thursday. Seems like I've been gone a lot lately, though, Mike. So that's not really fair, but we try. I'll actually have we recorded a Blab. I think you were on that. You and I and was it Addie? I think recorded a Blab.
Addie was the first one I was on.
2 weeks ago in the post show. That was so good. I'm actually going to put that in the feed for next week. So you will get that feed in the video feed from the Blab from 2 weeks ago if you missed it, and that'll become next week's show. No live show, though next week will come out. We got some great shows coming up towards Christmas, so make sure you pay attention and you come out and join us Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern at theaverageguy.tv/live. We will do some post show. I'm not sure we'll go to Blab today for the post show, but hang tight. And with that, I think we'll say good night, everybody.